And what about Japan? They've made a dramatic change in their policies. Expansionary monetary policy, promises of changes to fiscal policy, promises of structural reform. Do you think they're doing the right thing? And what risks do you think they're taking?
You know, Japan has had problems with domestic demand for some time, and to the extent that they're targeting their policies at encouraging domestic demand with domestic tools, we think that is very much consistent with what we and the other G7 countries agreed to just a few weeks ago in Moscow. We put out a report last week to make it clear we're watching pretty closely. Those principles are important, and it's important that all the G7 countries adhere to them.
How do you distinguish between the Bank of Japan printing a lot of yen, which obviously tends to cheapen the value of the yen? That's one of the ways monetary policy works, which is arguably domestically oriented, and something that you don't like, which involves cheapening the yen. How are we going to tell which it is?
You know, I think that the principles that were agreed to by the G7 in Moscow were very important, because we do need to encourage growth and demand, and it shouldn't be aimed at targeting exchange rates. And you know, we watch closely.
So if the central bank does it by expanding money supply, that's kosher, and if they do it by intervening in the foreign exchange markets, it's strafe. How do we know?
You know, I think that when we put out our FX report last week, it made clear that we were looking at the overall impact, what the purpose was, and you know, as long as the policies are consistent with the objectives of growing domestic demand, using domestic tools, it's consistent.